get started with Jeff Baker here.
Hi, Jordan. Welcome back. I want to ask you about your travel experience in a minute. Brandon Tanev today was announced he's out for the season. I mean, we see a lot of what he does on the ice. I'm just wondering whether you can tell us a bit about what he's like off the ice and the impact that he has on the team there.
He's a passionate guy. He's emotional. He brings a lot of emotion to the locker room, a lot of life. It's just such a tough loss. I mean, obviously you see the things that he does on the ice, brings us energy, brings us physicality. He's been scoring a lot of goals this year. It's really hard to lose him. But for me, importantly, I mean, in the locker room, he's a leadership guy. He's got a voice in the room, and he brings a lot of energy and a lot of life to the locker room. So, I mean, that's for sure a tough loss. And I know he's going to get a speedy recovery, and I hope to see him around lots because his presence is big for the locker room.
And I did want to ask you just about your travel experience. I mean, I can imagine it was harrowing enough having to cross borders, during COVID. And I'm just wondering what that experience was, just the whole experience of getting. I mean, I assume you went to Calgary and then coming back, having to go through that, and then finding out that there's a snowstorm here.
Yeah, it was a tough day for sure. I spent Calgary really isn't that far, an hour and a bit flight. I spent about, I think, 10 hours at the airport yesterday with my wife and my 1.5-year-old daughter. So that wasn't too much fun. It was a tough day, but we ended up, flight getting canceled after however many hours it was, and then spending so much time in the luggage area and just trying to figure out how the heck we were going to get to Seattle. So spent the night back home last night and figured out a way to get here this morning. So for sure, the toughest travel they have had for sure.
Alrighty, Andy,
Hey, Ryan. Welcome back, Jordan. I have a quick question. The World Juniors has started, and you've probably been asked a million times about your experience in the World Juniors, but you talked to a lot of the Canadian kids. They mentioned your goal against Russia as a memorable moment. And how does it feel to know that many guys remember that and were inspired by that play?
I think at this point it's starting to make me feel old. These when they say that's kind of, it gives them goosebumps and that's their childhood memory, it kind of makes me laugh a bit and ages me. But for me, at least, it's a very fond memory. We went on to win the gold, and then the next year we lost in the finals. But as a Canadian kid, I grew up watching the World Juniors. I still love watching it. To me, it's some of the most exciting hockey. It's passionate. You watch these kids flying around there. It's just a shame that obviously there's not full capacity the last couple of years, and they don't get that experience that I had with the Canadian crowd just behind them. So, but nonetheless, it's a great tournament to watch, and it's always, for me, it's a childhood tradition or Christmas tradition since I've been a kid. I've always dreamed of playing it, and obviously got to live that and love watching it still.
Ryan Clark.
Hey, Jordan, jumping back to something Yanni said yesterday about Brandon Tanev, that it's going to kind of fall on a lot of guys to help fill that void. What's that conversation like in the dressing room about kind of filling that void he has of being that guy that was always sort of like that positive lightning rod in the room where everyone gravitates towards that? I mean, is that something like other people kind of do as well, or how does that work now that Brandon's gone?
Yeah, I've always been a strong believer when you lose guys, you win by committee. Individuals have to, raise their play, and other guys are going to get more opportunities. So, and not just Tanny, but I mean, you look at the way that the rosters are going through in the NHL, guys are dropping left and right with COVID. So you're just going to have to find a way to win with whatever roster you got in. And the most competitive team is the one that's going to pull that off. So, it's always been a next man up mentality, and that's what we have to have here.
Mike Ben.
Hey, Jordan, welcome back. How do you look at practice today still, for you fresh out of the holiday break, and gauge the steps that you have to take with make sure that you're 100% sharp again?
I mean, it's really, we weren't off. I mean, it was 6 or 7 days, but, you do stuff to keep yourself in it. You never want to go that long without doing something. So, today I didn't feel horrible. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't back to square one. So, it's always kind of a little rusty the first day, and the next day you come back and you feel almost back to normal. So that's always the experience that I've had coming back from long breaks, whether it's All-Star break or Olympic break for 4 or 5, or the last Olympic break at least we had, and even short Christmas breaks or even injuries. So the biggest thing is just trying to maintain what you already have and not lose it. And it's really not that, tough. But the first day is always a little rusty, and you kind of get your lungs out and your legs going. And then next day you feel pretty good.
Last one for Tim Booth.
Hey, Jordan, I know, aside from your travel nightmare yesterday, what was it like having this kind of break in the season from a personal standpoint? I mean, you mentioned having a young kid at home and having family time. How rare, throughout your career has moments like that been to have that kind of opportunity?
Well, that's the first time I've spent, a significant amount of time at Christmas time with back home since I was probably 17. So it was nice to have, more than 2 days off and just be able to unwind fully and enjoy the festivities. So I know we had to come back the 26th, but at the same time, we had 4 or 5 days prior to that. So it's always awesome. It's nice to unwind and let your body rest a little bit. More importantly, to kind of just let your mind rest a little bit. It can get a lot of focus on hockey. And for me personally, I mean, my wife does a lot of the caregiving and taking care of our young daughter. So it's nice to get home and kind of release the burden a little bit. And more importantly for me, just to get to spend some time at home. And like I said, just mentally, refresh.
All right, thanks, Jordan.
Yeah.